côté et l'autre coupe de l'autre côté. Vous comprenez? And we're going to pick Confront Charlemagne on Thursday, so that we're going to crush with feet.
Okay.
And I would love to do it with you because it usually goes on. It's usually.
So is this kind of like a gentle pressing?
At the moment, yes. It's almost 0%.
We will have a new row as well for the whites. It's going to be completely full here. Yes! Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yes, hopefully. Thanks to the work of everybody.
Hi there, this is Brenna. I'm excited to welcome you to this special harvest episode, recorded entirely on the ground during the just completed Burgundy 2022 harvest. This episode is meant to capture the feeling and the sounds of a true Burgundian harvest. Just as every terroir in Burgundy is unique, so is every harvest. So you should expect this episode to sound a bit different than our typical episodes, as it's meant to document our personal experience of this very special time of year. We'll be back with our next full episode next month. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy this glimpse into Vendanges 2022. This is Roadside Terroir. This episode is sponsored by our dear friends at Haute Côte, a boutique travel and event planning company based in the Haute Côte de Beaune. Haute Côte creates deeply impactful and personal wine and travel experiences that truly capture a sense of place by highlighting the connections between the planet and people, culture and conservation, and, of course, wine. Learn more at www.hautecote.com. That's www.hautescotes.com. Season 2, Burgundy's Côte d'Or, is made possible by our Season 2 partners, Becky Wasserman and Company, La Palais, and Acker Wines. As always, don't drink and drive, and remember to keep your eyes on the road. This episode contains explicit language.
Okay, so we want you to introduce yourself, say your name.
Hello, my name is Max. I study winemaking, and somehow I came to Burgundy because someone told me the wines are very good here.
Sunday, August 21st. We can feel the excitement and anticipation in the air as our train pulls into the Beaune station. My partner, Isa, and I are here to harvest with Tomoko Kiriyama and Guillaume Bott of Chanterêves. I met Tomoko and Guillaume on one of my earliest visits to Burgundy and have been an adamant fan of their wines ever since. Today, I'm honored to call them both good friends and feel incredibly lucky that they have allowed us into their cuvery to record and document this sacred time of year. Tomoko is Japanese, but began working in wine in Germany. She worked under several famous names in the Rheingau and earned an engineering degree in enology and viticulture at the prestigious Geisenheim University. In fact, she still holds a German passport. Guillaume is a true Burgundian and master of Chardonnay. After completing the viticultural school in Beaune, he worked for Domaine Etienne Sauzet for many years before moving on to one of our favorite spots in the world, Domaine Simon Bise. The two met at Bise during the 2005 harvest. By 2010, they'd fallen in love and created Chanterêves. Chanterêves began as a true micro-negociant of humble terroirs based in Savigny-le-Beaune, and quickly grew to become an international darling, representing the new wave of Burgundy. Today, they're proud to include the Grand Cru Corton Charlemagne in their cellar, as well as several hectares of their own meticulously farmed vineyards, predominantly in the newly trendy and cutting-edge Haute Côte de Beaune. Together, Tomoko and Guillaume make an impressive team. The blend of cultures, languages, and philosophies is immediately obvious at Chanterêves, both in the spirit of their cuvery and in the internal fabric of the wines themselves. The 2022 growing season has been hot and dry, basically the complete opposite of 2021, which was cold and wet and dismally depressing. While the heat can certainly be a concern, this year has been almost entirely devoid of frost, hail, and mildew. So at this stage in the game, the yields are looking good and spirits are high. 2022 will mark the first year that Guillaume is officially full-time at Chanterêves.
How's everything?
Good.
How's Italy? Good. Hey, Sam. Good to see you. Hey, Tad.
Monday, August 22nd. Harvest is coming. It's our first day recording with Tomoko and Guillaume, and we're meeting inside their nearly empty cuvery. We've all just returned from vacation. It's mid-August and it's hot out. We're all wearing shorts, looking tan, and bragging about the good food we've eaten recently. Today, we're tagging along for some grape sampling in order to determine the official start date of Vendanges 2022. We hop into their rickety white pickup truck and head out to the first vineyard in Chanterêves.
And what was the name of this vineyard?
Les champs longs.
Les Champs.
Champs longs.
Champs.
Champ is like field. Long.
Oh, okay.
Because it's long rows.
Okay. And we're in Chanterêves.
Yes.
Voila. All right. So what's interesting is that Chanlon is actually one of the Chanterêves vineyard, which is adjacent to Alos Corton, because other side of the road is already Alos. It's considered to be one of the most interesting, or maybe also one of the most complex Chanterêves village, because it also has Alos character, also has the Chanterêves character, which is very luminous, it's jovial, fruity, nice wine.
That will be our third vintage in this parcel this year, so maybe that will be the most, in terms of quantity, the greatest.
Okay.
We'll see. It seems to be juicy in the berries because we have here heavy soils. It retains water and it doesn't suffer so much from dryness this year. And when you can try, you take a berry and you'll see it seems to be very juicy, very full of juice.
So we'll be sampling berries to determine the date of harvest, but we're more or less now decided for next Monday.
We'll see. We can change our mind.
There are many different ways to pick the samples, but this time we'll only do like really random berry sampling. So Guillaume picks 100, I pick 100 as well.
So should we let you count?
Yo.
Number that you like?
A general bricks number, yeah. Well, we don't talk in terms of bricks, we talk in terms of density. So I don't know how to talk in terms of bricks, but you see, actually, ideal for us would be ideal, just like a pure ideal would be 12.5. But the more important is really the acidity. Like, if the acidity balance is good, then we don't mind if it's 12, for example. I think we are among those growers who look less into phenolic maturity, I think.
It rained a lot last week, did it?
Yeah, here is something like 22 millimeters, which is not a whole lot, but which is enough to deblock, to let the maturity go, much more smoothly. And then they are announcing how much? They're announcing, I think...
It would be a little bit stormy at the end of the week.
At the end of the week,
like a storm. We can have nothing, we can have a lot.
Yeah.
So you
do
never know.
You wait a little bit after it rains to pick?
Not necessarily.
No.
Oh, really?
No, it really depends. I mean, when it's very concentrated year like this, we don't mind picking just right after the rain. Actually, I don't know if you've heard it, but sometimes for years like this, like 18, 19, 2020, there were many who waited the rain to pick.
Oh.
So like it can go very quickly.
Okay.
That's why I think, for my feeling, next Monday is good. Like how they look, because here is very, very fast ripening. It's one with the most fast. Yeah, this vineyard. Yeah, this is always the first one we pick.
Crazy. It's like snacking on a bunch of berries, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh my god, I wonder if I'm snacking on too many berries. Because in Burgundy, it's like every grape is valuable.
Bon, je sais pas, on va attendre les résultats de l'analyse et on décidera.
Ouais. Today, this is the only parcel that we would be doing this, because there's at least 2 weeks, something like 2 weeks of interval between here and the first haute côte parcel. Yeah, but because it's a warm year, we don't want to miss the time to pick Chardonnay because...
Yeah. This year the problem seems to be the acidity.
When the weather gets too hot, the vines shut down in order to protect themselves. They close their stomatas and stop photosynthesis, meaning the grapes stop producing sugar. The worry at the moment is that the wines could end up low in both alcohol and acidity. This is where even slight differences in picking decisions can make all the difference in the final wines.
With your mic and with your recorder. So, please.
We hop back in the truck and along the winding roads up to the Haute Côte de Beaune.
Alright, we're recording.
So all of the Chardonnay and Aligoté here is
Yes,
Mambe?
it's also Mambe. All this area is called Mambe.
Okay.
What does that mean?
I have no idea.
As if frost, hail, odium, and mildew aren't enough, a juicy full crop is also a temptation for the local deer population.
And you see the deer?
Here too.
Snacking.
Yeah, snacking. Well, it's not that bad. Yeah, there too, like usually, like below.
What did you say?
Said little fuckers.
Oh yeah, definitely the suckers.
Did you get that? Here? It's like a harvesting machine.
Look at that. They were here. You see that? You know, it's like such a sloppy eater because it was devouring here and like leaving our precious berries on the ground. It's just incredible. Just incredible. Regarde, ça prend le
Le semis, hein?
semis, hein? Yeah, so like our cover crop is growing. They're here, they're there, but better than last year for sure. But they're there. Yeah, it's like really.
So green.
Guillaume points out that here in the Haute Côte, where it's much cooler, the grapes are green and aren't even close to ripe.
And you know, here is the parcel that Françoise could dig. I think it was like 30 centimeters, not more.
That's it?
Yeah, because she was saying there's a fault between these two parcels. And so this is extremely shallow. So like this is one parcel that we definitely see, I think because we see the stress, hydric stress like here and there, right? That, whoa, yeah, that's it. It's just a...
How is assessing the readiness of Chardonnay different from Pinot Noir?
Oh, acidity is even more important. Acidity is even more important for us, huh?
Yeah. For the white variety, it's usually acidity who makes the decision.
Yeah. We look even less at the sugar.
Yeah, and I think if you have the ambition of making good natural wine, I mean without sulfur, we also need a minimum of phenolic component to make them stable.
Yeah.
So acidity is certainly the most important, but we won't pick at 11, for example.
If it's picked correctly and the grapes are clean, then we probably need very little or no sulfur for the whites.
Okay.
For us, yeah.
And so I guess how much do you think about whole cluster amounts
Amounts.
right now?
Right
just,
now?
Like, are they
Oh,
vintage dependent?
there's no consideration. Everything is going to be 100%.
Oh, okay.
What we look at right now, well, we have been following the whole season. So what we look at right now is an accumulation of what we've walked through because we do everything in the vines ourselves. And so by the time the harvest comes, we know how we're going to work with them. So that's something that varies. Whole cluster doesn't vary, but the extraction regime will change. It's always an accumulation of details.
On our way back to the cellar, we stop at one more vineyard, Montefusset, only a few minutes up the valley from Pernod-Vergelès.
C'était ça le cas.
C'est joli, hein?
Oui, c'est super
C'est
joli.
beau, hein?
Here it's much less yield. So as you see, it's starting to become golden. It ripes faster. It's called Le Montefusset. It's a young vineyard. It has the highest active limestone content, this and the one next. It's really starting to get golden. You see, so it's much more aromatic, as you see. It's much more sugar concentration and quite a fresh aromatic profile.
Yeah.
Very tasty.
There's also, and is this a ripening thing, but like the kind of fleshiness
Fleshiness?
to the pulp?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
there's a lot
It's
more.
almost kind of like getting jelly.
Yeah.
Jellied?
Yeah, there's less juice in these berries.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. That's exactly
more
it.
pulp,
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
say. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Much fleshier.
So here we can, unfortunately, there's less yield.
You see, yeah,
Here.
less juice.
Yeah.
Less, more of
Yeah. There's grapes,
concentration
but not a
the
lot of
berry is
juice in the
solid
berries.
than things that will make.
Exactly. The solid ratio is higher.
Yeah.
But it's normal because there's already, like not much rain this year beside, and it's a hillside, you see.
Yeah.
So like the steeper it is, the more hydric stress it gets. But then you'll have a much high solid, like thick skin. It's a great site to make a great Chardonnay.
And the good thing is we don't have any oidium at all.
Yeah,
this year.
zero.
This parcel is very sensitive to oidium.
Yeah,
usually.
extremely sensitive. But we did a good job here. Yeah, very happy. Okay, then we'll see you. You follow us. We'll go back to the Cuivry. Yeah.
After a long growing season spent in the vines, a sleeping winery must be awoken and prepared for an onslaught of energy and activity.
Great. So mostly we just want to see what you're doing.
What we're doing
get
right
ready
now,
for harvest.
well, it's kind of like always a bit messy, For us, the most important thing is, of course, to follow the maturity of the vineyards, like which are the dates that we're picking. Because, our vineyards, the picking dates span over 4 weeks. So, like, that's what preoccupies me the most. And at the same time, it becomes nerve-wracking because we use lots of wood. And all the fermenters for the reds are wooden fermenters, meaning that they're very delicate, meaning that they need a lot of care and maintenance because, as you've seen, like half of what we have is secondhand. Probably they're like 25 to 30 years old, you see. It's like they need a lot of time to get them into the condition. So we have to start watering them every day so that the wood will, bulge up.
Yeah. So it's the wood kind of expands with the water. Yeah.
Right.
So it kind of seals it.
Yeah, exactly. The wood expands. That's what wood does. So that's why we say the wood is alive. We talk about the memory of the vessel with many people. Like Sylvain Pataille was talking about it the other day, and we usually use the same vessel for the same vineyard. You see, I think there is a memory in the molecule. It is not scientifically proven at all, as you know. But the older they are, the more water they use, because the new ones, they hardly need to be treated like that with water. That is a concern for me, I must say. Yeah, so that's one of the reasons why we are buying 2 new ones every year since now 3 years. Yeah, and then there's a lot of paperwork, of course. So all that, and then communication, which is like very important. If you're a friend and you're coming, you're not coming for, we pay everybody, of course, that's the basic rule. every vendanger in France gets paid the minimum wage, which is not a lot, right? And all of our friends have jobs, so they're definitely not coming for money, they're coming for friendship. So communication takes a lot of time, and organization takes a lot of time. So all these things, it's just all jumble things that take up the head.
Part of the Burgundy harvest is you do kind of host the people that help you, right? Like you have like a lunch.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Yes,
Like
yes,
that's a huge
yes.
amount of stuff to coordinate.
Yes, yes.
Like a lunch.
Very important, like we say, and not just for the friends who come, but for us as well. Harvest is like a very special time, and so it's a place to see each other again, eat and drink again. So that's as important as picking. Very important.
Hi, my name is Lisa. I'm South African. I've been living in Burgundy for 20 years. Chanterêves is one of the domains that we work with at Becky Wasserman. I am in Burgundy because my husband is French and he's a sommelier, and Burgundy is the place to be.
So my name is Amelie. I'm from Germany, and I have friends who live here who invited me to do the harvest because they were always telling me about how amazing it is, and this year I had time, so I decided to come and do the harvest.
Monday, August 29th. The first day of harvest is here. We wake up around 6 a.m. to get ready, make a quick cup of coffee, and prepare ourselves and the equipment. We put on shorts and t-shirts and apply sunscreen before we head out the door. The temperature is expected to soar today, so in order to preserve both acidity and team morale, Tomoko and Guillaume have made a last-minute decision to pick Chardonnay and Haute-Côte Montefusset. Tomorrow, we'll pick the Pinot Noir and Chorey-le-Bon.
Oui, alors il faut faire le groupe parce que c'est dans les vignes hautes, on fait toujours groupe de 2 personnes, un couple d'un côté et l'autre couple de l'autre côté. Vous comprenez? Okay, très bien. I will explain you that. So of course you and Isa will be one team.
And with that, we start to pick. Snapping off the leaves reveals a wall of big, beautiful, juicy, just barely golden grapes. We snip, 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 fill up our buckets, dump them in the cases, and snip, snip, snip some more. It's truly back-breaking work. The vines are trained low. In some vineyards, the grapes are nearly touching the ground. Since we've actually never picked grapes before, we're both very, very slow, and in true amateur fashion managed to snip our fingers a few times instead of the vines, resulting in a pretty embarrassing bloodbath. As the snipping continues, the day gets hotter and hotter.
Well, you know how to do. You've done it many times.
So do you do all of the sorting in the vineyard? So is there anything that we should look at?
Yeah, well actually, here is quite pretty, and so you can basically take everything, even the dry berries, you can take them.
After a couple of hours, we stop for a very welcome Pause Cafe.
Right. How is it going?
Good.
Good?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, what do you think so far?
Well, I'm very happy.
Yeah?
Yeah, very happy.
The grapes look beautiful.
Grapes are beautiful, yeah. Very happy about that. And so I was discussing with Yuko, who comes every year to help us, so our Japanese friend. And she's saying it's true that, usually people come, like as friends, and you chat, and you just cut. Like you don't need to sort. So that's actually the best scenario ever. Yeah. Best scenario, isn't it? Yeah. For the Vendome.
I'm pretty sure the first day is the only day that water is more popular than the coffee and treats. The best days are when someone has made a fig tart with the freshly picked figs off of the trees at Guillaume's parents' house. After this short break, we continue picking until every grape has been accounted for.
Machen wir alles, sortieren wir irgendwas? Nein, wir schneiden alles rein.
Nein, alles rein, weil da ist auch fast nie gekriegt.
Ja, genau.
The picking team at Chanterêves is incredibly international. After just a few days, everyone starts to feel like a friend. Their cellar hands for the year are a couple of young German guys, Felix and Max. And in the vines, there are people from all over. Friends from Japan, Spain, South Africa, Austria, and of course France and the US, and more, depending on the day. And everyone loves to talk about language. It's extremely moving to hear this diverse group of people communicate. Some use the opportunity to practice their Spanish or German, or just to understand and discuss different cultures. As for me, I'm still just trying not to cut my fingers off at this point.
First, we'd like to have some water, and I'll bring out wine. Okay. So what we usually do is it's a very good jambon persier, by the way. So there you go.
Once the vineyard is picked, we return to the cuverie. The picked grapes are processed by the cellar team, while the pickers dig into their casse-croûte, a huge spread of charcuterie, cheeses, a giant bag of fresh baguettes, and, of course, an array of Chanterêves wines, which often include a former vintage of the vineyard we've just picked. They also like to drink wine from their friends and neighbors, and a glass of beer from the local craft brewery Vif, and maybe even some cider if the moment feels right. The Chardonnay grapes we've just picked are unloaded off of a truck and directly into a small mechanical crusher, which smushes them up a bit before whisking them up into the press.
First, be it aligoté or haute côte.
Okay.
I used to, when I was just working alone and when I didn't have our vines and just Chagnon, I was always crushing for feed.
Okay.
And we're going to pick Canton Charlemagne on Thursday, so that we're going to crush with feed.
Okay.
And I would love to do it with you because it's usually girls only. No, I'm just joking. It used to be.
Once the press is full and some of the free-run juice has been pumped out, they start the press.
It's just the free run juice right now, right?
Yes.
So you're not pressing it.
No, not yet.
And you haven't pumped anything. It's just.
Yeah, we
that.
pumped already something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. It's a good sign.
So is this kind of like a gentle pressing?
At the moment, yes.
At the moment?
It's almost zero pressure.
Okay.
It's 0.5
Okay.
or not even 0.5. It's
Okay.
0.1 bar at the moment. Very slow. Will increase very slowly.
Okay.
As the pressing continues, Tomoko brings us back into the cuverie to explain the philosophies behind their white wines. But first, she brings us to a special corner of the winery where a few small buckets of juice are busily fermenting and bubbling away.
Pit cuve is actually it's a yeast starter, right? I think you call it a starter, the leads. Most important thing is that the starter gets big population, in a low pH environment, which is very favorable for the yeast population, not favorable for the bacteria. And then it is warm and it loves that environment and it develops very fast, and that is used to inoculate. And then I air it every day. I mean, ideally as many times as possible, or at least 3 times a day. Air it a lot because aerobic conditions will favor them to multiply as fast and as vigorous as possible. It helps to thicken and strengthen their cell membrane. And it looks quite good and healthy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frothy.
Frothy, yeah. Yeah. So they're like my babies.
Yeah.
Very important. So we treat them with a lot of love and attention, and I think they'll keep going.
Yeah.
Tomoko guides us along the hose from the pump through the winery into its stainless steel destination.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Because what I love about winemaking is it's about taste, it's tactile, it's the smell, right? It's the taste. It's not just about taste, it's very physical, right? It can also be intellectual, but intellectual is just like a teeny tiny bit of the whole map. There's a lot of work involved physically, and that's also what I like. It's exactly that. You have to be very alert sound. Yeah, because sometimes, maybe there's a dripping sound, meaning that something is leaking, If you listen to the machines and then you know how the machines sound, then sometimes when something is not working. So you become very alert to all the senses that you have is what I really like about it. I love it. We will have the middle row as well for the whites. It's going to be completely full. Anyway, yes! Oh, boy. Hopefully, yes, hopefully, thanks to the work of everybody. So this and going into this tank now. So like we let it sit overnight, and then the solids will just fall down as a sedimentation, which is the first lees. But there are many different ways to barrel down. But the way we press, way we crush, and way we press, we will have a good amount of lees, but not too much. As these are going to be clean, we are pretty sure of that. Because the grapes are very clean, grapes are absolutely clean. So we'll most probably mix it up and get everything barrel down everything. We will all be picking tomorrow morning, and tomorrow afternoon we'll be barreling down.
Okay,
most probably.
great.
Or maybe not. We'll see. Because I actually wanna put already a pit cuve, give a big population to it, because there's no sulfur. So our principle, red or white, one of the rule of thumb is that it should ferment as fast as possible.
Okay.
Because fermentation is the best protection. The best is to let the whole volume start fermenting, get a big volume of yeast population at the beginning, and then barrel down. Then we will have a very clean, fast ferment usually.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is the key.
And then will you rack off the lees?
No. The only racking we do is 2 weeks before the bottling, usually.
Okay.
Yeah, with whites, I mean. The reds are a different story. But with whites, they're usually up to almost just 2 weeks before the bottling, and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. And we even give back the lee. So we rack, but I even give back a little bit of lee into the racked wine to have the protection, because...
Thursday, September 1st. Just a few days after our first pick, we have the opportunity to pick the Grand Cru Corton Charlemagne. This is a special day for everyone, and the precious grapes are crushed by feet. The cases are laid on the cuverie floor, and we all hop in, jumping from case to case. Tomoko points out how tactile this experience is, and how much information your feet can give you about the juice that will turn into wine. Plus, it's a pretty nice pedicure.
See the difference from the years beforehand, how much juice the grape has.
Yeah.
It's a tactile information, so you have a texture of the grape.
Over the next few weeks, this process repeats itself over and over again. Early mornings, picking, pause cafe, picking, casse-croûte, crushing, pressing, while the grapes and their juices gradually begin their metamorphosis into wine.
Hello, I'm Romain. Je suis aux Vendanges depuis cette année, j'ai fait 2 domaines. Et donc j'ai 27 ans et ça fait 10 ans que chaque année je reviens faire les vendanges. Et je l'ai fait parce que j'adore ça.
And where are you from?
Je suis de région parisienne. J'ai un camion et je me déplace pour faire des saisons agricoles et voyager quoi.
Konnichiwa. Hello, my name is Shinji Nomura and I am a Japanese. I am a friend of Tomoko. Tomoko-san, she's the chef of the Chanterêves. That's why I come here and then I'm helping her every year.
Thursday, September 1st, late afternoon. The fermentation for the red wines is a bit different, of course. Chanterêves is 100% whole cluster, so entire bunches of grapes are first simply placed into their designated wooden tank. And once the pied de cuve is added, all we can do is wait for the magic to happen. After a few days, they're given a gentle nudge. Today, after the lively foot stomping of the Corton Charlemagne, Tomoko invites me to hop onto the tank of Bon Premier Cru La Blanche Fleur, which has just started to ferment, to only very gently walk on half of the grapes.
So you can get on top of here, and then there you can wash your...
Okay, wash them up here.
Yeah. Don't follow. That's right. Okay, it's good. Yeah. And then you can go on where it has not been tread yet, right, that part, and you can flatten it out like I did. Yeah.
Okay. It's warm.
Right? Exactly. Yeah, you can flatten it out like that. Yeah. Cool.
So, okay, you were saying in the vineyard that throughout the growing season, as you see the grapes maturing, you plan your extraction.
Extraction, yeah, how we work on the grapes, yeah. Well, year like this, we know more or less that we will get a color no matter what. And then it's a concentrated year, of course, but maybe probably not as concentrated as 2020 for sure, because we have more grapes in the vines and they have more juice to begin with, you know. So I think 2020 is a very powerful concentrated vintage, which is difficult to make elegant red, in my opinion. But here, I think in that respect, we don't have a high risk. Yeah, that's very good right now. Yeah, we can go to the other side. So probably we won't treat that much this year. I mean, this is not a whole lot at all, you know.
Right. Yeah. So that's what you're. This is exactly what you're thinking of.
Exactly.
Where you're like squishing it down.
But you know, every year, no matter which vintage, I start like this.
Okay.
And I start like this. First, it's just we give impulse to the yeast, and they need to get fed. They need more juice, and that's how it goes.
So
After
that's
that,
what
the
this
question.
is about. It's just feeding the yeast.
Exactly.
So you're not even really extracting.
Yeah, no. It's actually feeding. You know, like we treat on it, then we get more sugar coming out. You know, because like all these berries have not been. Have to check, actually, from those that have. Yeah. So you see how red they are. This is already carbonic maceration going. You know, when we were popping the berries in the vineyard, they were white, right, in juice.
Yeah.
And now they're red like this, meaning that the carbo is on.
Okay.
Yeah, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And especially if you take a little bit of berries and they kind of like spritzy, we say like. All right, Renee, looks good. Looks good. That's enough. Yeah. And so with a small cube like this, I do this morning and evening, meaning that
Tuesday, September 6th. As the fermentation ramps up, they carefully adjust their extraction regime, or treading, based on how the fermenting juice is progressing. They taste twice a day to see how the fermentation is going, if there are any problems, and how the tannins are developing. Today, we're watching Tomoko as she hops in the tank of Chanterêves Rouge for a full pigeage, while Guillaume gives us a taste of the fermenting juice from a tank nearby.
we've been wetting the cap, and then we are adding oxygen because I really don't like to do remontage for that reason, but to nourish and have as big yeast population as possible for later. But there's almost all the berries are unbroken. More than, we would say, 80% is not broken. Oui, température, c'est... Oui, ça descend, donc il faut absolument que je rentre 24. So the yeast is like starting to slow down. So like we're definitely gonna get inside and then stimulate the yeast.
You can finish it.
This year is good because it's not yet dangerous for me to sink.
Yeah.
Which is really great, but like last year they were half full or less than half full, and then it would be dangerous to hop in, you know, like because of the CO2 gas, even for Guillaume. Well, Guillaume did it for those tanks.
No,
Because
it's dangerous for everybody.
yeah, it's dangerous for everybody.
When it's and the level is here of grapes, all the rest is CO2. So.
Right, exactly.
You need like a snorkel.
Yeah, have to resort to every possible means to be able to do this. Yeah, not easy. It's usually very interesting because always, you know, it's the center which is the warmest, and more you go towards the edge, it gets cooler.
Part of the job of the pigeage is to stimulate the yeasts and to evenly distribute the heat in the fermenters. but it also determines the extraction of color and tannin from the grape skins. This isn't something calculated. It's literally felt and tasted.
It starts at 21 degrees. We're not doing anything, but as the yeast activity gets active, it goes little by little. Even if you wouldn't be stimulating them, but just by oxygenating them, you see the temperature rise.
Yeah.
And it's always every year is like super fascinating to see that. I think we never get over this excitement. It's always so cool.
Does the temperature ever get too hot?
The way we do it never gets too hot. Okay. It rarely goes above 30. Okay. Yeah, rarely. Yeah, that's also pretty fascinating. If you would start, like doing this from the first day on, oh yeah, you will go up very fast, yeah. If you want to come up and see, I can explain you. So you see, for the moment, it's activity is very gentle, right? It's bubbling everywhere. But then probably like tomorrow evening, the cap will start to rise.
Okay.
Yeah.
To hear it bubbling.
After the pigeage, we go to check in on the first red wine pressing of the vintage, the Beaune Premier Cru Le Blanche Fleur, the same terroir Tomoko allowed me to do the foulage, or gentle squishing, of early on in its fermentation. They have us taste the free-run juice, and then taste again once the pressure increases.
The color is even more dark.
Yeah.
It's always super cool.
So what do you know for certain about the final wine at this point? And what are you still discovering?
Great question. You asked, do you want to taste this one? Because then you will see the difference between that one and this one, which is just pressing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Try this one.
So yeah, that's a great question. And that's actually the question that we ask ourselves every year, right? No, it's really the question that we ask when we decide to press.
Yeah.
For me, I know that it has become wine. It's not just a question of sugar, but when the wine character appears, then I don't want to wait longer than 2 days maximum.
Okay.
And other than that...
What do you mean by wine character?
Yeah, I get the feeling that there isn't necessarily more that we can gain from, and probably we can gain if we keep on doing pigeage. But then if we keep on doing pigeage and prolong the cuvaison, then the pH will even go higher, meaning that when we press in the milieu of high pH with a lot of sugar, it will be even more stressful for the yeast to finish the sugar. So we can't prolong that a lot either. But it tastes like a young wine, tastes like a young wine, like you, but it tastes wine. So it's something like that. But then there's also uncertainty because there's so many uncrushed grapes from which it hasn't really been extracted yet, except the sugar that's just being extracted right now by the press. This is just turning and then mixing a little, as you know, and then it will start to press again. Yeah. What we taste from the freeland is, of course, not the taste of the finished product, right? So when we decide to press, it can taste like a bit too extracted for our taste. That's better. Okay. Because then that will be eventually more diluted through the fact that uncrushed berries are just being pressed and they're not extracted, you see? Yeah. So that it is better that it's like a little more, let's say, it tastes a little more tannic, a little more powerful, a little more condensed than the finished product that we would like to have.
Yeah.
And so it's always a question of weighing these two things. So it's always a question each year. And then especially a year like this, the danger is to over-extract, which we want to avoid, because we still would like to have elegance of each terroir.
So we would already like to have a wine which is elegant in its youth. So it's always a consideration of like where to stop and press, or if we go another day longer, and another day of pigeage or not. So before turning, you put the part of the membrane on the top, and it was like deflating, and now it's completely deflated, so it's like turning once, and then it will restart to press.
As the press turns and ramps up, we discuss what you can understand from the wine at this stage in its evolution, and how to understand what is observably inherent to the place, and what will still develop with time.
You have an idea of what will happen with the acidity. Obviously, it changes during fermentation.
Before the grapes are picked, you have a quantitative idea of things like potential alcohol and acidity, but tannin and texture develop only as the grapes become wine. You have to watch and see how it develops and respond accordingly in order to encourage what you hope will become balance.
Yeah, so it's always that there's like so much unknown. So each year is like incredible adventure, right? So that's why for us it's important to be in the vines too, because working the vines at the same time, you have so much information, right? Like we have that training here that being in the vine is absolutely primordial to be able to connect yourself to the final product, final wine.
As harvest continues, we stop in on some friends at the opposite end of the Côte d'Or. Domaine Bruno Clair, based in Marcenay. In contrast to Chanterêves, Domaine Bruno Clair is a bigger domaine with a deep history of vinification in the Côte d'Or, which includes an extensive cellar filled with famous terroirs in Gevrey-Chambertin, as well as in their home base of Marcenay. We are here on one of their last days of pressing the red wines. Bruno himself is one of our favorite characters in Burgundy, who you'll learn more about in a future episode. But today, the cellar is run by his two sons, Arthur and Edouard. We're joined by Paul Wasserman as Edouard gives us a rundown of the 2022 vintage. I ask him how it went and how the vintage felt here in the Côte de Nuits.
It was a year with limit frost at the beginning, just a little bit in Marcenay, in some Chardonnay. It was very, very dry, a spring very dry, and it was difficult for us because with the cover crop, it was a bit complicated because it was very dry. After, it was a lot of rain at the end of June, too much for Gevrey. We lose maybe 30% in Clos Saint-Jacques, Fontenay, and Castier. And for the grêle.
Hail. There was a huge rainstorm, right?
Yes, it was
80 millimeters or
90.
90 millimeters?
Yes, 80 or 90 in 40 minutes. This part of Gevrey and the other part of the worst harvest in quantity, it's in the dry area, on the top of the coast and on à la sortie des combes.
Outside at the mouth of the combs.
Le cône d'alluvion en sortie de combe, avec que des éboulis, pas d'argile. Et du coup, en plus, on est planté en 161-49. Donc, si tu veux, c'est une accumulation de plein de choses qui font qu'on fait moins de 20 hectolitres là-dedans. Ça, c'est ce qui ressemble à 2020.
So, that's the part that is reminiscent of 2020. At the mouth of the alluvial fans, because of the terroir, it doesn't retain water.
No clay.
No clay, no retention of water. There was not a lot of disease.
Not for us, yes, a little bit of oidium. But if we compare with 21, it's nothing. 21, it was mildew and oidium and botrytis. And yes, this year it's clean.
But a fair amount of dried grapes?
Not the same like 18, 19 or 20. For me, 19, it was very similar for me. For the texture des grappes, la texture, au niveau de l'évaporation, les sucres qui s'envolaient. Alors que là, en fait, les sucres ne se sont pas envolés, les pH se sont envolés, mais pas les sucres cette année.
Okay, so the difference is that the pHs did climb, but not sugars. They harvested everything between 12
and 30.5. 13.5.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. With the pH of 18, with 14, 14.5, the 2018, it was the same pH.
So in the 3.7, 8,
yes, maximum 3.8.
Yeah, okay.
In décuvage, after décuvage.
After décuvage, okay. Hi.
Hi. Hi. Hi.
Hi.
So you're saying that in 18 or 20, the alcohol was higher?
Yes. I don't know why.
It's a mystery.
I don't know why. It's the same summer like 20, but the opposite sugar and pH. 20 was very concentrate in sugar and in acidity. 22, it's high pH and
low alcohol.
Sugar,
normal
classic,
alcohol.
normal.
Overall yields are high throughout the Côte d'Or this year. I ask Paul and Edouard to explain just how high the yields are and what that means in terms of the quality of the vintage.
I don't have figures yet. I have big smiles on a lot of faces. So some people are saying it's not as big as 18.
Okay.
A lot of people are saying it could be bigger. It should be a productive year. There are exceptions.
For us, it's maybe the last year, in 21, we make a very good harvest in quantity in the Claude Bèze. We make more last year than 22.
Right.
Really?
On fait 38 hectolitres hectare, 37 I think maybe.
In general, a 32 hectoliter average is welcome.
Yes.
And a lot of people will be around 40.
Yes.
And 40 is the technical cutoff, or?
Aujourd'hui, je pense que sur un rouge, 40 hectolitres. Après, il y aura des...
Some people will say that you can't, produce great wine above 25 hectoliters per hectare. Edouard believes that between 35 and 40, it's perfect. I think that we used to want concentration. We wanted dense wine. The average that was usually touted was 35 hectoliters per hectare in Pinot Noir. I think that today, with the warmer years, actually a little more yield and a little more juice helps. I think our palates are changing. We're drinking less extracted wines. It's something to reassess.
The grapes are changing though too, like you said.
The grapes are changing, and maybe, the old saw of old vine, low yielding fruit, maybe is to be taken with a nuance. That's all. But yeah, juicy wines are prized today, not shunned.
Isn't there like a legal cutoff?
It depends. For a Grand Cru, it's this year maybe in average for 42.
It's set for every
usually,
vintage, right?
Oui, between 40 and 44. It's always between 2-4 hectolitres hectare. 40 for Grand Cru, 48 for a Premier Cru, 54 for a village, and 60 for Bourgogne.
Interesting. So how many hectares?
How many hectares? We harvest 25.
25 hectares in 2 weeks.
In 11 days of picking.
Wow. Did you sleep?
No. Yes, a little bit.
We head into the cellar to taste some baby Grand Cru from Tank, but start with the Premier Cru, Clos Saint-Jacques.
Mais bon, je pense pas qu'on pouvait faire mieux avec ce qu'on avait. Je pense pas là. C'est tout ce qui m'importe.
He doesn't think they could have done better with what they had, so that's...
Sous la pluie, on a pris une grosse averse, le Clos Saint-Jacques, ça y est, je me souviens.
Yeah, it was raining the Clos Saint-Jacques, a big rainfall. I was done under the rain.
Bon bah ça reste la finesse de Gevrey. Hein. Aérien.
It's still with the bulb, the lees, and it's still fermentary. I mean, it's not barreled down yet. Ça fait presque la veau.
Comment?
En délicatesse, ça fait presque la veau.
Ok.
It's so delicate for Clos Saint-Jacques that
qu'il faut piger.
It almost reminds me of Lavaux Saint-Jacques, which is beautiful, is what I'm trying to say. C'est élégant. C'est ça que je suis en train d'essayer de dire. Thanks to the whole cluster, even though there's a high pH, it's fresh.
Claude Bèze.
More noticeable reduction. That smell.
Yes, little bit.
What's the difference between Clos Saint-Jacques and, one of the two great Grand Crus? It's pretty much in the glass. This darker fruit of Clos de Bèze, the power. Whereas Clos Saint-Jacques usually is more elegant than Clos de Bez, but it's got this kind of really ripped kind of mineral, very athletic. It's okay to prefer Clos Saint-Jacques. Which one do you prefer?
I maybe prefer this one.
Expensive taste. High maintenance boyfriend, Rena. It's grander, but 8 out of 10 vintages, I prefer Clos Saint-Jacques. I like racy.
Bonne-Mare, c'est plus robuste.
Toujours.
Toujours.
Always more tannic. Here. That's not the vintage, that's your Bonne-Mare.
So at what point in the winemaking process do the Grand Crus start to become themselves? When do you notice it first?
Ah bah ça peut être... L'an dernier par exemple, des fois c'est au remontage. Les arômes que tu as au remontage, des fois ils ressortent. Mais c'est pas forcément les grands crus, hein. Mais il y a des vins qui ressortent comme ça avec des arômes qui sont extraordinaires quand tu remontes le jus en début de fermentation, en milieu de fermentation.
It's not necessarily just the Grand Crus, but sometimes you just see it, or the quality of it at any rate, when you pump over. Because just aromas are so, beautiful and extraordinary that...
Sometimes you can already test, for me, and after. Sometimes the Bonne-Mare makes 1 year to be a Grand Cru. Sometimes it depends.
That's Grand Cru already. A base. It's all about the base in this one. I think I'm going to like 22 a lot. We'll see in a few months, but...
I think so.
After we taste, we head out to these epic vineyards in order to explore the terroirs. While we walk in the vines, we taste the ripe second crop berries, aka the part de Grève, or bird's share, and each point out that several of these distinctive Grand Cru characteristics are somehow already present in the grapes themselves. But you'll just have to wait for our Gevrey-Chambertin episode to learn more about that.
So my name is Jeanne. I was born here in Beaune in 2000. Guillaume is my dad, and Tomoko my stepmother. So there is new people, so it's really good to know each other and to know where people came from, and it's a really good experience.
Meanwhile, an amazing thing has happened. Almost overnight, the seasons have changed. It was really hot, and then, over a few days of rain, the summer was washed away. When the clouds cleared, there was an unmistakable autumn chill to the air. It's right around this time that we start to pick the vines in the Haute-Côte. In the Haute-Côte, the Chanterêves team is joined by their MVP, a ginormous working horse named Crésus, and his handler, Gilbert Simon. They come to collect the full cases. Paul later tells me that these two are the most coveted horse team in the Côte d'Or, perfectly in tune with one another. Although, it is harvest, and everyone gets to have a little indulgence now and again.
Yeah, and he was so funny because yesterday, he likes the grapes as well.
Yeah.
And yesterday when he was bringing the cases to the camion, at the last moment, he snatches one grape from the case. because he's thinking, the boss is not. Yeah, boss is not watching me.
Yeah, but today also.
Yeah, today he did that again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gilbert watched in the other direction and he took 5.
Reward.
The reward. I need a star.
Saturday, September 17th. After picking in the Haute-Côte in the morning, we're back in the cellar to check on some new fermentations.
It is.
Yeah, I love this because it warms up, it's yeast activity that really warms up. I love this atmosphere. It can be dangerous, but yeah. So everything's filled up now. So Guillaume and Felix just pressed off these it's 2 tanks yesterday,
Okay.
which was all good. And they're going to press one of the Savigny tomorrow that we picked together. Otherwise, there's 2 tanks of Nuit Saint-Georges Village, 1 tank of Ladois Village. So we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tanks to press off. And I think, let me see, just check this one. Seep in agave juice and it's fermenting.
Sounds a little bit like butter on a frying pan.
Another thing I was thinking today, especially because it feels like a totally different time of year now than when we started.
Yeah.
And that's why it's like cool to work with the oat coat, because it's like you're just like picking almost in a different season. Like
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, for me it feels like a harvest in Germany.
Yeah.
Almost, because almost everybody has finished, and I think this weekend, as far as I know, is almost only like very few domains, and even Cassiope in Marange, they have finished, I think. A couple of days ago, and so it's Dandelion. They're picking today and tomorrow as well, and we're doing the same. Yeah, and but you know, it's now completely an autumn air, right? Autumn wind. Yeah, and so that's why it's actually later than we expected this year, right? It's later, but maybe like 1 week later than we expected. Yeah.
I mean, it's just interesting how different of a moment it is, because also it's rained so much.
Yeah.
So it's really like the grapes are just in a totally different place than the ones that were picked first, I guess.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. I wanted to have as many people as possible in case we need to select, you know, in case we need to do a lot of selecting in the vineyard. But actually, it went very well because there's hardly any rot, right? I mean, like there's hardly any, because it rained a lot less than we thought, but just about it. Maybe today.
We also take a moment to check in on 2 wines we've been following all harvest: the Chauray Rouge and the Beaune Premier Cru Le Blanche Fleur. Both are just about ready to be barreled down.
The fermentation went very well. It's almost dry now. Okay. Great ferment. It took almost 2 weeks until we pressed it. Yeah. And it's almost dry now. So when we press, there's always sugar left. So it's a nouveau.
Yeah.
Chauray nouveau. We can already drink it, right?
How does the color compare? Like it's not super dark. It's
it's still dark, but not super dark. And you see, there's this acidity is like incredible, right? Yeah. So that's something that's different from finished wine, right? Because the finished wine will go through malolactic fermentation, so you will have a much softer acidity. There you go. So this is Beaune Premier Cru. It's called Blanche Fleur, that means white flower. And from them, it's a wonderful domain. They're small, they're as small as we, but like every year they amaze us.
Yeah.
It's just always so balanced. It's like great grapes, Probably the star of the vintage. Very young now, it's still very young.
Yeah, it's really good.
But it's got the poise of the Premier Cru.
So how do you think of this as being different from the Chauray and this stage?
This stage, I think, is still very young. It presents concentrate, but I think it has great depth, but also elegant. Yeah, it's Chauray is much more accessible, probably, but this has got tannins, but it's very fine. Very mature tannins. And Chauray is, in that sense, it's much more, how do you call it? It's a fun wine to drink. But probably it's the most serious Chauray that we've done so far.
Yeah.
But this is like punching way above.
Yeah. It seemed, when I first tasted this one, I thought that the tannins were much softer. And then as you looked a little closer, you're like, oh no, not really. Like they're still there.
Yeah.
They were just like a little bit more melded in to the wine than the Choré. The tannins seemed a little bit grainier. At this point, obviously they're young.
Yeah, I agree. Well, they have been farming themselves since how many generations now? I don't know. And so, of course, that result is there. So that is something that we can taste from this wine. The level of farming is really high.
Me llamo Patricia Segura García. Soy española, vengo del sur de España, de la montaña. Tengo 38 años. Soy psicóloga, sexóloga, guía de montaña y profesora de salsa cubana. Pero la experiencia de vida me ha traído a la Borgoña. Hace 3 años que vengo a hacer la vendimia aquí y me siento muy bien, así que vuelvo cada año.
Sunday, September 18th. It's our final day picking. The morning is clear and cold, and the sun is barely rising as we begin to pick. Today, we lather on layers instead of sunscreen. And even though we're tired and our bodies ache, we're already sad that this moment is coming to a close. We're picking Bourgogne Aligoté and Miralon du Bas in the Haute-Côte de Beaune. These vines are over 40 years old, and well-farmed, older vine Aligoté is pretty rare in the Côte d'Or. Tomoko explains that this site is always amongst the last to be picked, and always develops the most incredible complexity in the cellar. The picking group is big today, almost 20 people, and the pick is quick, easy, and joyful.
C'est tout?
C'est tout.
Oui, c'est ça, le Vendanges 2022.
Et
oui, terminé.
2022. That's 2022.
Ah oui. Pour Jesus.
No, you're the
Everybody
boss.
can go down with the bucket, please.
I'm like...
At the end of harvest, every winery hosts their own private palais, or harvest celebration. This is a time for everyone who contributed to the harvest to come together, celebrate the season, and breathe a collective sigh of relief that another vintage has been successfully harvested. The palais are always lunches, because lunches can basically go on forever. There's a huge assortment of food. Guillaume is grilling steaks, there are gratins and salads on every table, followed by cheese, tarts, and a freshly baked cake. And, of course, the wine. We drink back through the history of the Chanterêves vintages, mostly in Magnum, and then everyone starts opening bottles they've brought themselves as we keep the party going.
Okay. Thomas, I'm from Austria. I ended up here because I was texting with Tomoko online via Instagram, and I'm doing an exchange actually, and now I'm here for the harvest. That's it.
I'm Felix from Germany, and I'm just here to learn something more because I'm a winemaker from Germany, and I know the wines very well, I think so, but not each of them, but we can improve this.
We stay all day, lounging in the autumn sun, singing along to classic German, French, Austrian, and American songs. And eventually start salsa dancing in the cuverie as the sun sets. Thursday, October 13th. The wines have all been tucked in for their winter rest, and life slowly trickles back to normal. We've returned home to the US and are counting down the days until we can return to taste the results of our first Burgundian Vendange. Thank you to everyone in Burgundy who warmly welcomed us into this special time of year, especially Tomoko and Guillaume. Thank you to Edouard Clair and Paul Wasserman, and to all of the Burgundian vendangeurs who work hard to make epic wines every year. Thank you to Haute Côte for sponsoring this special episode. Roadside Terroir is hosted and produced by me, Brenna Quigley, recording and sound engineering by Nick Canepa, and original music and sound design by Jeff Alvarez. This season is made possible by our Season 2 partners, Becky Wasserman & Co., La Palais, and Acker Wines. If you liked this episode, please share it and give us a review. It really does make a difference. Check out our website, roadsideterroir.com, to learn more about each episode and how to help support this season by donating, sponsoring, or becoming a Roadside Insider. Thank you to Isa Islami, Ali Massey, and Kara Humphreys, and a huge thank you to Steve Lippin, our Grand Cru patron. We couldn't do this without each one of you.
All right, Max, what are you going to miss most about picking?
You.
Aww.